Welcome to Crossbody Revisited, a show where we look at someone we've already covered on the Crossbody of Work podcast and given them a couple more matches. I'm Evan.
I am Javier.
And this week we go all the way back to our very first official episode to cover someone who is collectively one of our favorite wrestlers of all time. We are looking at the additions to the career of Eddie Guerrero.
Oh yeah, Latino Heat, my personal GOAT, my favorite wrestler of all time. I have him and John Cena. The thing with Eddie, with me personally, is Eddie was before John Cena.
Yeah.
So, Eddie's my number one. He's my OG. He's my first GOAT. And then Cena came along, revolutionized, and changed the whole game. I like to think it's like someone who grew up with like Michael Jordan and was really happy to be, seeing Michael Jordan play basketball. Wow. And then LeBron came, and you're like, oh shit, this guy's fucking awesome too.
They have like a timeshare in your top spot, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Eddie firmly in the top three for me, up there with probably Kurt and Brian. I think that's the top three for me. And then like the special guest of Shelton Benjamin, but we don't have time to get into all that. So what did we already cover in episode 1? If you want to go back and hear two babies figuring out how to do the podcast for the first time, you can go back and listen to episode 1. It's still on the feeds. Everywhere you get your podcast, Crossbody of Work, go find it. You can do it. It's the episode that gets the most random re-listens of any episode we've ever done.
And I appreciate that because I'm still in college and figuring out how to use my microphone properly.
It's pre-pandemic when we did this, when we started this podcast. Yeah. That's what that was. What did we cover in that episode? We saw him tag with Art Barr to team up against El Hijo del Santo and Octagon in a very, very fun match. We saw Eddie versus the Shooter, Dean Malenko in ECW. We watched the Eddie versus Rey Mysterio match in Halloween Havoc 97. We watched the very famous triple threat tag match from Survivor Series 02. And of course, we watched Eddie win the WWE Championship versus Lesnar at No Way Out 2004. It's so hard to just pick a couple Eddie matches. It was a very challenging task, and that's why we came up with this show.
Yeah.
You can just go back and watch Eddie matches.
We want to go back and tack on more episodes, sure, but, we figured, hey, what's a way we can milk as much content from this as humanly possible? Oh, let's just throw it on YouTube.
Just add more Eddie to the YouTube. And he shows up in a lot of other people's stuff as well, because obviously he's Eddie Guerrero. He could put on a good match with a fucking broomstick if he wanted to.
He's a lot of people's best match.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to look at two ladder matches. One that's extremely infamous and one that's not. And we're going to start, of course, with the one that's not. Let's look at his run in WCW as part of the WCW side of things against the NWO's Syxx. What do people know Syxx as?
He was that. What was his name? 1, 2, 3 something.
1, 2, 3 kid.
1, 2, 3 kid. 1, 2, 3 count. 1, 2, 3 guy.
1, 2, 3 count.
3 child.
He was also, of course, X-Pac, and he eventually would come up with the term X-Pac Heat by just existing. We are looking at Eddie versus Syxx in a ladder match for the U.S. title at Souled Out 1997. Now, Souled Out is a weird pay-per-view. Do you know why it's such a weird pay-per-view?
Is it because it has the NWO thing in the middle of the ring?
NWO presented Souled Out because NWO was presented as like a company that was trying to compete with WCW and take it over. So NWO, this was their whole pay-per-view. So it was themed. It was WCW versus NWO guys the whole way through. Nick Patrick worked all the matches because he was the official NWO referee and he wore an NWO shirt doing it. Eric Bischoff and Ted DiBiase did commentary poorly the whole time. It was a lot. And
it's really not good.
The commentary is atrocious.
You know what's the worst part? The worst part isn't even mentioned yet, which is Syxx's goddamn facial hair. That's the worst part about all of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. The WCW guys got no entrance music. And the NWO guys, of course, got their full entrance. How many WCW guys do you think won on this card? There's 8 matches.
1.
3.
Oh, a miracle.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the Steiners.
We'll spoil it, and it's the Steiners won the match before this. Eddie Guerrero wins this match. And Jeff Jarrett beats Mr. Wall Street, a.k.a. IRS, Mike Rotunda.
I'm an idiot. I just like I said one, knowing that my guess would have been the Steiners, while also watching this match and knowing that Eddie wins.
Well, we can't all be winners. What did you think of the actual match?
I thought this match was fine. It's weird because it's not a bad match. It's actually quite good. Especially as far as ladder matches in the '90s go, this is really fucking good. But the issue is, I just don't think these two had very good chemistry as far as their styles and the way that they work. They're two very good individual wrestlers.
Yes.
But I don't think that together they work very well. So like some spots just felt a little clunky. There were some things that Syxx did, was trying to get done that just didn't really work with what Eddie was doing, and vice versa. And like I don't want to say it's sloppy because it's not. It's quite crisp, but there was just like a missing component to this. Like I didn't really feel like there was any heat between these two guys.
I felt like everyone
was
tired of the NWO stuff by the time that this match happened. This is the second last match on the card, and then the main event finishes with a non-finish between Hogan and the Giant.
It's also just like, is that the one where the Giant gets thrown off the building?
I checked. It is not the one where he gets thrown off a building.
Okay.
Because if it was, we would have fucking watched that match.
It's also just like, why the fuck is X-Pac here? You know, it's like, I don't care anymore. Like, why is he co-maining?
Why the fuck Batumin, essentially? Nick Patrick looks like Kenny Powers, right? Look, we're all on board.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Eastbound and Down is an excellent show. We're all on board? Great.
Yeah.
It's really fucking good. And Eddie's mustache.
I'm about to fuck you up with some truth.
Tremendous mustache that Eddie has? Or
Eddie's facial hair, it doesn't matter what it is, it's excellent always. Yeah. And he pulls it off no matter what. It doesn't matter what the look is, whether it's that mullet, whether it's the frosted tips, whatever it may be, anything in between and around. Eddie Guerrero, if it's hair that's growing on his head, he can make it work.
Because he's also got the full mullet at this point, too.
Yeah.
And it's
with the singlet, and somehow it's not supposed to work, but it does.
It does. He puts it all together. Early on, we got a head scissors by Eddie, tilt-whirl backbreaker, and a crossbody off the top to the outside. This is all also after Syxx hit a bunch of kicks, and Eric Bischoff will not stop talking about how much of a karate expert Syxx is.
Yeah, he starts running down Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal, saying those guys are Hollywood, it's all scripted, they got stunt people doing it for them. You put them in a tournament, even with a woman, the woman will beat their ass, you know.
Dunk on Steven Seagal all you want. He is a goof. One of the biggest goofs I think society has ever made, because he takes himself so seriously.
It's so weird how are you like this? Yeah. But also what the fuck is up with Jean-Claude Van Damme? What did Jean-Claude Van Damme ever do to you?
What did Bloodsport do to you? Damn. So
let my guy live.
Eddie backflips off the top rope with Syxx on it. Syxx then hits him with a diving kick. This is one of the things that looks a little clunky. There are, like you said, those pieces where it's like, I see exactly what you were trying to do, and somehow it just gets a little lost.
Yeah. Eddie does a flip off the top rope, like you mentioned, the spinning back kick. It's when has that ever worked? The only time anyone's ever done a flying kick, I think that's a work. That wasn't a drop kick or anything.
Yeah.
It's like RVD. And it's cool with RVD does it because he usually does it with a chair. You know?
Yeah. That's
so
true.
It's and then he follows it up with a Bronco Buster. And I just gotta say it. The Bronco Buster fucking sucks.
Yes, it does.
I don't understand the Bronco. When Rey Mysterio does it, it sucks. When any of the women does it, it sucks. When any of the men do it, it sucks. What are we doing here, guys? Just stop. It's a stupid move. If you're gonna do anything like that, just do the goddamn. I know it's a Samoan thing, so you don't really want to do it. Just do the flying hip into the corner or something like that.
Just drop kick. Just drop basement drop kick in the corner.
Drop kick, a knee, running knee into the corner. Yeah. Shinsuke's got that one.
Yeah, it sucks. Also, if you watch the actual clip that we have that we'll put in the description of the video down below, the person who is clearly recording this from their TV literally turns the volume up during the Bronco Buster.
And it's the oldest looking volume, little signal, whatever the fuck that I've ever seen in my life.
It's the first ever volume thing.
It's the first ever TV.
Yeah. So we get a drop kick that sends Syxx to the outside. He Then Syxx suplexes Guerrero from the apron to the outside, hits a flip senton over the top rope, and camera barely catches it because this is some of the worst camera work I've ever seen.
Bro, why does it look like it was filmed on a GoPro?
So
like,
that's the thing is
it's so
because
bad.
it was an NWO production, some of the other cameras at ringside were like shittier cameras to be like, oh yeah, it's gritty and it's real. And the NWO, I'm like, NWO doesn't have any money? Hogan is in charge of you.
They got to record on camcorders? Like, what is going on here?
They're on the Game Boy Advance camera, which was elite when it existed. It was pretty good.
It's not as elite as the messenger thing on the Nintendo DS. Let me tell you something.
That's true.
So when you could just straight up draw and send it to a friend.
Nick Patrick is helping Syxx get a ladder into the ring. Eddie slingshots it on the top rope. It smacks Syxx in the face, and I immediately had Joey Mercury flashbacks. I was like, oh shit.
Well, it's not a flashback. That's like a decade later.
Well, that's true. Flashbacks to the first time I saw that and was terrified for life. Don't let anyone slingshot a ladder into you.
It's a face that explodes. I don't blame you on that one.
Yeah.
Eddie just starts hitting Syxx with a ladder. And then at one point he sets up the ladder in the corner. He goes to whip Syxx into it, but gets reverse whipped right into the ladder. And he goes into that shit like he's Bret Hart, man.
Oh,
like, he goes full tilt into that ladder in the corner.
Eddie is willing to just sacrifice his body for the greater good. Like, not as much to like the degree of like a Jeff Hardy, obviously. Like, that's not.
It's very noticeable in the second match.
Yes, we'll talk about that as well, obviously, when we get to that one. We get a top rope superplex by Eddie. Both men are on top of the ladder. Syxx jump kicks Eddie off the ladder, but since he jump kicked, he obviously also falls. It's not the greatest plan. Yeah.
It's pretty stupid.
It's pretty dumb.
Eddie gets punched off the ladder at one point, rebounds off the ropes, and then just stumbles and falls backwards into the ladder.
Yeah.
Which obviously knocks Syxx off. And then after a little bit of jockeying, we get to the finish, which both of them get all the way up to the top. They both unhook the belt and are just jockeying forward at the same time.
The Lesnar Reigns, this is my belt. No, it's my belt. No,
this is my belt.
Yeah.
Until finally Eddie just bashes Syxx in the face with the title. He obviously lets go because he just got hit in the face with gold. And just keeps hold of it. Then he wins the match.
Interesting way to see Eddie. I don't ever think of him in the U.S. title picture. I don't know why. I know that he won the title a couple times in WCW specifically, but I think WCW think of like.
I think we covered a match with him, like a WCW U.S. title match of his.
Yeah,
probably not his, but against someone else.
With somebody else, yeah. But like you think of Eddie with like the cruiserweights and you had the LWO and all this other stuff, and you also I always picture him as just like a guy they didn't know what to do with. And then they just would be like, okay, go here. Because WWE eventually knew exactly what they had in Eddie. And they always knew that they had something good because they would feature him prominently. You know, Radicals.
Yeah.
You had him with China. You had SmackDown
the tag
team, like Los Guerreros, all that stuff. But then they did this. And I didn't know about why we would go with this. Obviously, we have to talk about this. It's my favorite concept for a wrestling match that's ever existed. Whenever I have...
This is your favorite.
Oh, yeah. Because whenever I have...
This isn't even the most out-of-pocket one.
It's pretty up there when you think about it. People ask
I don't know, man. Jimmy Bagwell on a goddamn forklift, when she's legitimately scared of heights.
They will say, hey, wrestling's pretty weird. And I'm like, oh, do you want to know how weird it is? There was a match in Washington, D.C., in the summer of 2005, where the thing that was on the line was not money or a title or even like honor. It was the custody of an 8-year-old child. And you're like, oh, they brought in like a child actor to be like it's like a Maury situation. No. The actual child of Eddie's actual friend, Rey Mysterio, Dominik Mysterio, who we all now know as the best heel in wrestling currently. Isn't that fun for him?
Probably the best wrestler in the world.
I mean, Shane McMahon's got a blown fucking hammy, so it's not him, so it's probably Dominik Mysterio. They had this match, Eddie versus Rey, the custody of Dominik ladder match, SummerSlam 2005. The clip that we have, that again, linked down below,
oh my God,
opens with Michael Cole saying this: the custody of a child will be determined in a match. A
In the
ladder
most
match.
solemn and serious way possible, he says this. Like, what the fuck?
I have a couple of
You know?
questions. One, how do you get Ray to agree to this match? We're like, hey, if you could just beat Eddie, this
I
person
think it
who
was
he.
their idea.
But that's the thing is, I don't understand it. Like Eddie, famously lies, cheats, and steals, and now he's coming after your son. Do you think he won't try some shit to get away? You know what
I
I
can tell
mean?
you. The crazy shit is, Dom was on a podcast. I think it was one of the Ringer podcasts that they have over there on their feed. And I remember him saying, like, he was legit getting paid for this. Like, he was getting paid for this as an 8-year-old child.
Don't get me
And
wrong.
it's
If you
like,
can get money when you're a kid, it's the greatest thing in the world. I'll tell a little story. My mom worked at a toy store for a long time, and the toy
oh,
store hired me to build whatever the new Lego sets were, and then they would pay me $5 a Lego set. So I would just get to play with Lego, and they'd be like, "Here's a Harry Potter set. Here's a Star Wars set. Here's a random castle, whatever." And I would just build it, and I would do it at the store, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you built
no.
two, so like here's $10."
You're living the life that I want to live.
I know. I had like one of those little scooters too, and I would just kind of whip around the store because it's a pretty big store. I would just whip around it and be like, I felt like I was in charge. It was awesome. So if Dom's getting paid
Large
for
and in
this,
charge, baby.
yeah, if Dom's getting paid for this, is great. All right, a little bit more backstory on the fact that the custody of a child is on the line in this match. On the June 30th episode of SmackDown, Eddie threatened to reveal a secret about Mysterio and his son Dominik. Eventually, everybody was like, "Hey, Eddie, shut the fuck up! don't do that! Like it's really weird." And Mysterio beat Eddie at the Great American Bash with the stipulation of like he won't reveal the secret. And Eddie, like a true housewife of New Jersey, was like, "Here's the secret, anyways. I live to be a messy bitch." The secret is that Dominik is actually his kid, and he helped conceive the child out of wedlock. It was he
I
claimed that
mean,
he
he
had a
did conceive a
child.
child out of wedlock, to be
Yeah,
fair.
while his marriage was going through hard times, he claimed that he allowed Mysterio's wife, who were having trouble conceiving, to adopt Dominik. So technically, it's Eddie's kid, but also the implication is not just that Eddie is his dad; it's also that like Dominik's mom is also not his mom. It's a twofer. It's a both these people.
For those who do not know, Eddie has a third daughter who is younger than Shawl, and I'm blanking on the other one.
Me too.
Uh, he has a third child that he had because he separated from Vicky for a while when he was having his drug issues back in the early 2000s, and he had a child with a woman that he had a relationship with at that point, and then he went clean and reconciled with Vicky, and they just like formed a relationship with the daughter, which is nice. There was a happy ending there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he actually does have a child out of wedlock. So this is funny how that works out.
I to be a fly on the wall in the WWE writers' room, and they're like, "I got a pitch. I've
Is it
got."
9/11?
It's the fact there's all this lawsuit going on with it is also, of course, there is. Like, what a wild company, and yet we watch them every week. What are your thoughts on this iteration of Eddie? Not the fact that he wants custody of top heel Dominik Mysterio, but like his heel era here. What did you think of that?
I thought Eddie, like the performer, was fucking excellent.
Oh,
This
he was in
is
his bag.
grade A character work. The action in the ring was awesome. Like the look, it's the look I probably associate the second most with Eddie. There's
Okay.
that the short hair with the
Yeah.
little goatee. Like that's not goatee, the little soul patch, and like that's the one that we really think of with Eddie. WWE champion, winning Eddie over there. But the one that I associate second is when he lets his hair grow just a little bit, just so it's a little moppy up top, and then he puts the freaking highlights on there, and he looks like a goddamn psychopath whenever he lets his hair get wet.
Yes.
So as a match builds and he gets more and more sweaty, it just looks so disheveled, and I'm just like, this is the greatest heel of all time. And honestly, I just have to say it, Eddie Guerrero in that time period in 2005 legitimately might be one of the 5 greatest heels of all time, in my opinion.
It's one thing to be a heel and to just be annoying, right? It's nothing to be a heel and try to destroy families. Like in terms of things you can do to be like, hey, like you kissing, you could be a bad person at work, right? You could like not fill up the coffee. You could like play your
Not
music too
replace the
loud.
water
Not
jug.
replace the water jug. You could do all that. But if you're like, hey, Bob from accounting, yeah, I stole his kid. I just I fought him in a Denny's parking lot, and I stole his fucking kid.
And then what you do is you're like, he's actually my kid. Like I have a kid, and I gave it to him and his wife.
And then Bob's like, I'll fight you for it. And HR's like, that sounds great to us. Let's do it.
It's like, oh, you guys want to do it at the second biggest event that this company has on every year? SummerSlam? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. We're good.
Anyways, the actual match.
Did this curtain jerk the pay-per-view?
That's actually a good question because I don't know how you decide where this goes.
Where do you put this?
That's what I'm thinking. Where does it go?
You can't follow it.
It was not the curtain jerker.
Oh my God. If you asked me what I thought the main event of SummerSlam 2005 was, I could not tell you.
Oh, buddy, you know exactly what it is. Think harder.
Oh, it's Hogan. It's Hogan HBK, isn't it?
It's Hogan and Michaels in another one. This whole pay-per-view is unhinged. It's fantastic. Well, I mean, you've
top to bottom.
Just Hogan and Michaels as a concept, and then this match as a concept. And then you have like the real life beef between Edge and Matt Hardy being on this card.
Yes, sir.
That's big.
Is that the steel cage match?
No, it's the one where you end by TKO.
Oh my God, yeah.
Cena defended the WWE title against Jericho. That's normal. Orton faced the Undertaker and beat him. That's good. And then Kurt Angle beat Eugene for his Olympic medal back.
I think this was after Eugene had turned heel. I think that was the Eugene heel turn.
I can't. Eugene heel turn are three words that should not go together. All right, the actual ladder match for Eddie. Some jawing early about whose son Dominik is, even though now Dominik's real parent is Rhea Ripley. And there's a cheap shot knee to the stomach.
Mommy right there.
Yeah, that's mommy. Cheap shot knee to the stomach by Eddie. Ray does a monkey flip. Eddie meets him on the outside, runs Ray into the stairs, into the ladder. Eddie is like ready to try to end the match because you know what? He's a committed father.
Yeah. We just have to mention also the emotions of this are so great, but also like before the match, there's a moment where so Eddie comes out first, but which by the way, late stage Eddie Guerrero's theme song, I wasn't a fan of. I just had to say it. And then Ray comes out, and obviously it's the who's that jumping out the sky? R-E-Y. The GOAT. And then he has like a moment with Dominik where they like touch foreheads.
Yeah.
Like the thing you do, just the thing you do. You bring the kid in, you go like that. And then Taz starts talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting emotional. This reminds me of my son." And I'm like, "We just got a hook reference."
Said hook reference. I didn't even know it was a hook reference. God damn.
Hook and Dominik Mysterio will freaking main event a pay-per-view. I don't know whose company it is, but they got to do it now. Revisited.
I like that. That sounds good. So yeah, Ray's getting worked on the outside, but then Eddie sets up the ladder on the inside, goes up top. Ray hits a springboard dropkick to Eddie on the ladder, and then Ray just starts like defending the ring with the ladder. Like he's just like not letting Eddie back in the ring. It's not the worst strategy I've ever seen in a ladder match. Like he dropkicks it into Eddie's face.
Listen, the unhinged part of this match is honestly just that this is probably their worst match as far as in-ring quality. Because
WrestleMania 21 it's really good.
It's the only match I've ever seen them have where they didn't look 100% in sync.
Oh, and we'll talk about things being out of sync as we get in.
Okay, so at one point they're at the top of the ladder. They're fighting for the briefcase. Eddie starts smashing Ray's head into the fucking ladder, and then he goes for a sunset flip powerbomb, and he botches it. Completely botches it. He just
doesn't take Ray with him. And then Ray has to just kind of fall. And it happens really quick, but they showed it in slow motion, I think, on the replay. And I'm like, yeah, you can tell that Ray just kind of jumps. It's kind of
Eddie
weird.
drop kicks a ladder into Rey in the corner. He then sandwiches Rey between two ladders and does a slingshot flipping senton onto it.
I love that
Uh,
senton.
it's great. It's great every time he hits it. At one point, like Eddie's got Rey out and down and out, and then he sets up a ladder and starts climbing. And Rey's like, quick thinking. Let me grab the second ladder, and he doesn't open it up, but he leans it up against the ladder, and then he uses that to climb it up like he's like a fucking what are those things that like carnivals and amusement parks, the like ladders that you go that game you play where the ladders are like unstable as fuck.
I have never in my life seen this carnival game.
It's like the thing where you have to climb it. No, like it's the ladders. It's like rope. They're set up like this, kind of at an angle, and then you just climb them. But they're completely unstable, so you have to like fucking balance yourself. And if you get to the top, then you win.
I don't think I've ever seen that at a carnival, but I also did spend
man!
I spent most of my time wherever the deep fried dough was, so that's part of it.
And maple syrup because Canada.
Canada.
And yeah, so he lands. So he gets up there. He meets Eddie, and then it's a back body drop. But I don't know what the fuck happened during this back body drop. Everything fell.
So Eddie hits the ladder bridge, right? The ladder bridge then is no longer in the corner properly and slides out, and it brings the ladder with it, and Rey just falls in an unplanned and also very scary looking bump.
It's an ugly fall, man, especially when you consider the fact that, Rey's knees are just starting to go on him a little bit at this point.
Oh, they've been gone for a little bit already at this point. Rey's knees
are really starting to go.
By the time he gets to WWE, Rey's knees are bad. Rey then makes his ribs bad because he gets flipped into a ladder that's draped in the corner and lands directly on his chest. Eddie sets up the ladder, and who's our first interferer?
It's Dominik. It's a little blonde boy who looks just like the prison Dom that we get on the week, almost every week.
Dominik's in the ring, and he's trying to shake the ladder, and honestly, I commend him for it. Because he's 8, and when you're 8, you can't do anything. You just go to school and learn fractions and come home. Like, that's what you do.
Apparently eat fried dough at carnivals.
Well, yeah, obviously. And he just trying to shake it, and nothing's happening. And Eddie's just looking at him like, son, my child, what are you doing?
My baby boy.
Yeah. Look how they massacred my boy.
Wow. And then
was that Christopher Walken you just attempted to do? Was that what that was? Dominik, my boy, come here. Wow.
And then Eddie gets off the ladder, or climbs down the ladder and goes, "Give me a hug. Don't you love me? Well, you're going to love me now. And you know why? Because I'm your new daddy, ese. You're going to learn the hard way what it means to be a Guerrero." And then he freaking puts his hand back like he's about to smack the shit out of him. And Rey comes, grabs his hand, stops him, and then just starts fucking up Eddie. That's the only way I can describe that offense, is he's just fucking this man up.
You know, one thing this match has that a lot of other like high stakes emotional matches have or are missing in WWE, which is if you are actually in this situation, you will do everything in your power to fuck up the other person. And so there's very few there's no rest holds the whole match. This is happening. Rey thinks that Eddie's about to smack his child. Rey's like, I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna kill you. And then Rey at one point,
a ladder assisted 619 springboard leg drop onto the ladder.
It's not ladder assisted. It's just him doing the 619 onto a ladder, and Eddie's on the other side of the ladder. It fucked up Rey's shins. It didn't fuck up Eddie.
But he doesn't feel that because the power of parenthood. Rey's on the ladder. Man. Eddie gets him in electric chair position. Rey turns it around into a powerbomb, which is actually sweet.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Dominik's just doing the worst smile I've ever seen. It's the child smile where they don't really know what the fuck they're doing. So they're just like...
See, I had the opposite problem as a kid. I just smiled really big and then I never learned how to tone it down. Like I have pictures of me in like grade 1 just... I was just happy to be there. I was like, wow, school's so great.
No, meanwhile, I just mean mugged my way through it. Just...
Of course, it's because you're a tough guy. So Rey gets up on the ladder and he has the briefcase. Eddie kicks the ladder out from underneath him, catches Rey in as he's falling in a power bomb, which is awesome.
God, man.
Rey then gets pinned under the ladder. Eddie goes all the way
nasty.
up. Eddie's waving at him. And then all of a sudden, Eddie can't figure out how to work a latch suddenly.
And you mean to tell me he's not? He's got to do the John Cena. Just take the latch with him.
Why was Eddie wasting time? Do you know why Eddie was wasting time?
I do know why Eddie was wasting time, because Rey then, shuffles around, drops the ladder. Eddie's dangling, falls in anger, falls, is angry, smacks the shit out of the mat and just goes, "Where the fuck is Vicky?"
He was obviously stalling for time because Vicky was supposed to interfere then. Vicky, of course, being his wife and famous general manager of SmackDown in later years. Go and watch our episode of Crossbody Drafts where we drafted the best authority figures. Vicky Guerrero ended up on Javier's team. Now,
yes, sir.
Is it as bad as Papa Shango where Hulk Hogan had to kick out, or Sid Vicious had to kick out a leg drop?
No, but because you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? They made up for it real nicely. Considering everything after this was improvised, Eddie gets up slowly. His leg's kind of fucked. He hits 3 amigos, the third one of which was on a ladder.
That was so nice.
Then he starts climbing up again real slowly. Vicky finally does come down, stops him, knocks over the ladder.
Yep.
Rey then climbs the ladder, and on the other side of it, Eddie gets up, and he's clearly making a motion like he's going to go climb up after him. But Vicky just gets him, holds him down so he can't interfere, and Rey Mysterio wins the fucking match.
I'd like an Eddie Guerrero biopic starring Pedro Pascal.
Oh my God,
Yeah, I think I'd like that.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know that he could physically play the role.
That's true. That's
the issue.
Yeah, I mean, celebrity trainers can work magic. I show you Exhibit A, Kumail Nanjiani.
Who is the one that I am thinking? Oh, there's an artist who is really fucking good. He made that song Evergreen.
Okay,
I'm blanking on his name. He honestly could play the role too.
Interesting, very interesting.
He's
and then,
too
of course,
young, I think.
This match was fun. It's an insane concept. It's a weird match. Of the two, I prefer this one. I assume you do too.
No, it's not even close. Just for the fact that after the match, when Angie comes out, she's like blonde and it's very clearly dyed, and she's wearing a terrible outfit. And I'm like, 2005, just for the hair and fashion alone, it's worth watching any match from that time period.
You're not wrong about that. What did you think going back and revisiting Eddie's career?
It just makes me happy.
Yeah,
Eddie Guerrero is he's the performer. He's my favorite performer. You can literally just throw an Eddie match in any situation, and I'm gonna watch it. Like, it doesn't matter who it's against. Like, I will. I don't think he ever faced Hulk Hogan, but if he has a Hulk Hogan match on his resume, you know what? I'll fucking throw it on this podcast, even though it's fuck Hulk Hogan, just because I want to see that.
Yeah, exactly. And Eddie is just so talented. He can be the babyface going up against the NWO. He can be a terrible heel attempting to break up actual families, and he's still going to deliver in all the matches. These, I would say, are maybe a step below some of the other matches that we already covered in the Eddie Guerrero episode. But like I said, go back and listen to that episode. Go back and listen to episode 1. We will be bringing more content to our YouTube for Crossbody Revisited. We're going to look at some other people that only got one part, or that have such a large repertoire that we just have to go back and look at a couple more of their matches. You should like the video down there. You should subscribe. It's also somewhere down there. And you should listen to our podcast, Crossbody of Work, wherever you get podcasts, because it's great. We talk about a wrestler through 5 of their matches every single week. However, where can people find you on social media?
I'm on the Twitter machine at JMelloSports. It's in the link in the bio of the main account. Just go ahead.
Do that. Follow me there too. At Tevin Gomes, ITSEVANGOMES. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and of course, here on YouTube at Crossbody of Work. We will be back again soon with another Revisited. Be sure to hit subscribe. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.